Hey guys, it's Liv here, and in today's video, we're taking on the Nat Dex Anything Goes tier with Alolan Raichu. If you guys enjoy the Nat Dex AG content, or just the Showdown content in general, and you want to see more, leave a like on the video and subscribe for more content like this. But with that said, let's get started with the match, of course. So looking at my opponent's team, they're probably going to lead off with, if I had to guess, Deoxys Speed. Deoxys Speed is usually a pretty free lead, it's usually Suicide lead. So I'm going to go into Mewtwo here. And I think I'm just going to go for Taunt, since they'll probably still get up at least one hazard, but I can stop them from stacking my team, which would be pretty beneficial. So I'm going to get the Taunt off first. If they go for a Taunt on me, good play. I don't really anticipate them to actually go for a Taunt on Mewtwo. And we see they actually go for Thunder Wave. Okay, so that's also actually pretty good. I'll go for Reflect here. I don't actually see the need to go for... I don't see the need to go for the Light Screen, because my plan is actually just to explode right here. I wanted to catch the Yveltal specifically, and I don't think it'll expect that I have Self-Destruct. So if this goes for Dark Pulse, as long as it doesn't Paraflinch, I'm fine. We get parried, unfortunate, but it is what it is. I do think I'm actually going to switch out into Coco here. I want to try and preserve Mewtwo as a sack for later on, especially against Marshadow if I need to give up some sort of offensive boost. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go for the U-turn this turn. I think that they probably don't stay in. I can't imagine a Life Orb of Yveltal stays in against Coco. So they actually go for Sucker Punch. Okay, that works too. I don't entirely mind this. And I think from here, I'm going to go into... Arceus Water. And I'm going to get a Toxic off in this Yveltal. The worst thing I can bring in is Necrozma, but Necrozma Duskmane obviously still would take an okay amount from Judgment at the very least, and I can't imagine that my opponent would just go right into it in an Arceus form without knowing the set, because if I was like a Calm Mind Perish Trap set, they're kind of screwed. So Yveltal's Toxic now, which is great for me. I'm going to go for an Ice Beam here, and we see that we take a good amount of damage, but I'm perfectly fine. Arceus Water isn't really that useful actually outside of going for the Toxic on Necrozma, albeit it's not a terrible Ray check, and it's not a terrible Zacian check, but it's not great against either, especially with my set. So I'm fine with actually letting this Pokemon go down. If they're not going for recovery moves, I'm pretty good with this, because at the very least, we can just go right back into Coco. And I do actually get a pretty free Thunderbolt at this point. Their switch-ins to this don't really exist, actually, and they don't know that I'm slower than them, so they're probably not going to go for a Roost here. Though maybe they do, but as we see, the Sucker Punch goes off perfectly fine, and Yveltal is taken out. This right here is one of the two best responses that they had to Alolan Raichu, the only other really good one being Marshadow, so I'm pretty okay with this, actually. I'm just going to bring in Mewtwo here on the Deoxys and let it go down. Mewtwo did its job, and they're going to go for Stealth Rocks, perfectly fine. I'll go for a Self-Destruct here, just in the off chance. Yep, okay, off chance of Taunt, and this should bring them down a considerable amount here. So at this point, I'm going to bring in Necrozma Duskmane, and I'm just going to go for I think I'm just going to go for a knockoff at this point. Knockoff should be pretty free if they go for T-Wave or Taunt. Either one was fine. But since they didn't end up going for the Taunt, I can get up Stealth Rocks now, which is great. So I'm pretty okay with this. If they go right into Marshadow, so be it. I'm planning on probably Dynamaxing... I guess I'll probably Dynamax this, actually. I don't think this is a terrible Maximon. Well, no, actually, this could be pretty bad as a max, considering they could Sunsteel on a Spectral Thief me. I'm going to go for Stealth Rocks, though. I do still need them against Ray in case of Ray's Focus Sash, and also in case of Marshadow Sash. So we're going to get the Stealth Rocks up. We do see that this, at the very least, is not Life Orb, which is good to note. So I'm just going to go for a Morning Sun here, because I do need this healthy for the Zacian if nothing else, and Marshadow is clearly not doing a lot of damage to me. So my guess is it's Focus Sash. Now that we've gotten healthier, I'm gonna go, and I think I'm actually gonna keep going for a Morning Sun here, because I do kind of need the health back at the very least, if nothing else. And if I can get up one more, I can actually go for a Max Guard at this point. Actually, I can go for a Max Steel Spike, since I'll be able to take out the Marshadow, and on top of that as well, I'll get a Fizz Def boost, which should be very helpful for the last three on the team. So I'm gonna go for the Sunsteel now, the Max Steel Spike now. If they do end up getting a full parry here, so be it. I also then just take two Spectral Thieves, and they're taking more helmet damage consistently. So I'm fine with this either way, actually. In neither case, it's really a big deal for me. But it's one of those things where I'm kind of hoping I don't get full parried, just to keep this healthier for Zacian, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either. They are going to take the Steel Spike, though, and they're going to be going down here, which is perfect for me, actually. They'll actually really struggle to take this Pokemon out. So my guess is they're probably going to go into Mega Ray and go for a V-Create and hope I get full parried. which I'm fine with that in all honesty. They're probably not boots Ray. Ray typically doesn't run boots as far as I'm aware. It's like Life Orb and Choice. Though I will also preface it's been a really long time since I played this tier, and this portion of the ladder especially is so volatile with team comps. So they might be boots Ray. If they are, that's also fine for A-Rai, to be honest. But we'll have to see. A-Rai didn't really get to do a lot this game, to be honest. They had a lot of good counterplay for it, such as a Veltal Marshadow as a core, a Sash Dio speed. In general, I also just didn't really get a turn to set it up. But to be honest, if these two, specifically the dual steals, end up being left, I'm actually pretty okay with this because I can actually beat Ray I can beat Ray with something else and then proceed to take out the rest of the team with A-Rai. But I would specifically need Ray gone, I think, to safely do that. We do KO the Zacian with Steel Spike though, and they're probably trying to preserve Ultra Necrozma on a Necrozma Duskmane. My guess is this is either Ultra Necrozma or it's going to be, they're thinking it's going to be the check to my Necrozma, which would lose to A-Rai at the very least, so I'm not too concerned. They're actually going to go into this now. That's fine. I'm going to go for Max Darkness. They are Ultra Necrozma, which is actually very amazing, especially since they're not attacking. They've basically telegraphed their team because at this point, I would need to get full parried here to actually lose this Pokemon. I'm going to go for a Morning Sun. Thankfully, they're Ultra though. I think the worst thing, truthfully, would have been if they were Weakness Policy Autotomize. That could have actually been a little scary, especially if they got a full para on me on like this turn right here, because they could have gotten up a second Autotomize and then outpaced A-Rai at that point in terrain, and that would have been probably the scariest that could have happened this turn. So thankfully, them being Ultra Necrozma is pretty good for me, actually. This mod is still a fucking demon, but at the very least, I'm no longer actually afraid of Ultra Necrozma. Since they're a physical variation, they're going to do around 20%. I can go for a recovery move once, then Ray should be pretty chewed, and I should be pretty all set to actually continue going. So we're going to Sunsteel here, and we should obviously take the Ultra Necrozma hit. Thankfully, no paras, which has been really good, though I say that now, and Ray's probably going to get a full para at me on a Dragon Dance turn, but we'll kind of have to see. On the bright side though, Necrozma's been kind of killing it, so hopefully we can not get full parried, question mark. Realistically, even if they click Dragon Dance, they would need E-Speed, which to be fair, E-Speed is very good, but they would need like E-Speed, V-Create, and Filler move to really actually threaten me. Probably Ascent would be the final move. That's basically what the standard Ray is though, to be fair, so I'm asking for a lot when I'm saying not to be that. But yeah, as we see though, V-Create, we take that, and I could just take out the Rayquaza this turn. Which we can see because this is skipped to the end. I know it spoils the result a bit, but we end up winning game 1, which is pretty awesome. 1-0 for the day to start. We're looking good. Let's continue on to game 2. Okay, and we are back with another match. This person has Pedon, Mega Ray, a Veltal, Zacian Crown probably, Zygarde Complete, and Ditto. So it looks like they basically took just a lot of the top mons, which is understandable. Obviously, they're all pretty decent mons. They comp pretty well together. As far as my lead goes, I think I'm just gonna lead off with Arceus Water. They don't have a toxic immunity on this team, which is amazing for me actually. And the only cleric they actually that's a lie. There's Zacian is, but that's really it. And even still, Zacian wouldn't immediately switch in on Arc Water anyway. Also, their only way to actually clear status would be their own Ditto going for Refresh because it came in on my Arceus. So I think I'm sitting pretty here. I'm just gonna go for an Ice Beam here. It should be a pretty nice attack. They can't really do a ton to me actually. And at this point, I literally just recover until they miss a Precipice Blades or until they click something like Thunder Wave. So I just go for a Refresh at this point because again, I just need Pedon to die. It doesn't really matter how long it takes. So now their Pedon got off really just Stealth Rocks and it took 68% to do so. We're going to go right into Duskmane here. It should be a pretty free switch into this. There's not really a lot they'll actually do back to me. And once that Pedon's gone, again, Duskmane looks like a pretty good Maxmon. However, once Pedon's gone as well, A-Rai goes fucking in. I do want to clear Ditto as well. Zygarde's not an actual issue because of the fact that we have Disarming Voice. And to be fair, I don't actually need Pedon gone. It's actually weak enough to where I could just go for Max even without the damage boost. So really the biggest threat would be a Veltal if it's Sucker Punch and Ray in general because of the fact it's probably going to have E-Speed. We're going to go for a Morning Sun here though. And then I'll try and kill this Veltal as quickly as possible. Thankfully, if nothing else though, them bringing a Veltal in, unless they click U-turn this turn, we do get a very free switch into Coco, and I can get a Defog off this turn. If they go for Taunt or U-turn though, that's fine. They're actually going to go for Dynamax, which I don't mind this at all actually, because they didn't click Airstream this turn, which means that I can guarantee the Defog off. And not only this, but because of the fact that they're clearly not going for Airstream, again, they're just gonna stay slow. So I'm pretty all set at this point. They're gonna probably go for Airstream on this turn, and I'm gonna just go right into Arc Water. If they go for Dark, that's fine, I'm not really too concerned, but now they can't actually drop my special defense. The speed boost doesn't really make a huge difference for me, and we've actually scouted that there are 3 attacks. My guess is this is probably a choice set, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't really have a ton to base that off of, just it's not Life Orb and it had a lot of coverage, so it's probably AV or choiced. Either way though, we just go for the recover this turn. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go for an Ice Beam and take out the Pedon. Pedon should, yep, now it's no longer here, and they've lost their hazards, which is amazing for Coco, because now I can just stack Coco whenever I actually feel like it, which really just means I'm waiting until Ray dies for E-Speed and until Ditto ends up going down because it can't let it copy A-Rai. Though I guess it wouldn't be terrible if I did, because they've actually burned their Dynamax. So I really only need the 1 Pokemon gone. What I might actually do now is go hard into Coco and let that go down. I do want to double check something actually really quick, because I want to see how much I could do versus Zygarde with Raichu Alola form with Rising Voltage versus Zacian Crown, because I am actually genuinely curious with the electric train up. I should actually Oko it, like very much Oko it. So we're gonna sack Coco here. We're gonna go for our sweep. It probably won't be a complete sweep, but it should be some decent damage off if nothing else. They don't really have a great switch into this because of the fact that we have Disarming Voice as well. I'm not gonna pop my Dynamax yet actually, because I want to make sure that I can just, I want to save it for specifically when Zygarde or Ditto come in, because those would be the opportunities for me to actually take the most advantage of this. So Zacian is now completely gone. That's 1 less Pokemon to worry about. They'll probably go into a Veltal here, and my answer to that is I don't really mind a Veltal coming in actually. I can just go right into Mewtwo and probably just let Mewtwo go down. I don't really care. If they go into Ditto, I'll Dynamax. If they go into Zygarde, I'll Dynamax. And if they go into Ray, I think I'll switch out into Duskmane, because now that's my that's now my Ray check. So they actually do bring in this, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to go for a Max Starfall, and this should do some good damage, albeit I don't think I KO, but it should be some nice damage. Yeah, we've pretty much neutered this now. In fact, their Ogwav brought them just out of range of complete, which is really, it could not have been better, in all honesty. We're going to go into Arc Water, though, and I'm just going to click Ice Beam. Their switches to Ice Beam now actually don't exist outside of Ditto, which their Ditto always actually loses 1-1, because it can never, if it's choice, it can never actually lock into moves that would beat me sufficiently, whereas I always have the combination of Refresh and Toxic, so they can never actually, in theory, beat me if they're choice Ditto. In fact, I think their whole team actually loses to me at this point. The only exception will be this, if this is Spexiveltal, which could be a little annoying, but I could actually screens around that. I do need to regardless go for a Toxic turn 1 on a Veltal though, because I need to make sure that that Mon gets poisoned, because if I'm going to try and cheese it like I will, which will basically factor into sacking Rayquaza, then going into Mewtwo, setting up a light screen, and then recover stalling it, then that would be my play. So they're going to go into Mega Ray here. I'm going to click Ice Beam. I know that Delta Stream weakens this, but it should still be some really good damage, and they don't do anything back to me. We do see that they outpace, which is pretty reasonable. Typically Ray just runs max speed Adamant. So I'm just gonna go for a Ice Beam here. I don't even need to actually recover stall this, truth be told, because I think I have enough pieces to just sack Pokemon outright. And if their Veltal is slower, it wouldn't matter anyway. They would basically need to be timid of Veltal or go into Ditto, which Ditto probably shouldn't actually be able to KO me. So I should be fine either way, in all honesty. But they've hit me with the early GG, it seems. They're probably not going to be finishing this game if I had to guess, which fine by me. If they don't, you'll see it cut or forfeit, but perfect, we're in the 1600s now. Let's try and get in at least 1 more game, maybe 2, but we're going to try for at least 1 more, and if it breaks 25 minutes, then we'll end there. So their team is Pedon, Chansey, Yveltal, Gengar, which is probably their Mega, Arceus, which is probably Fairy on this team, I feel like. Their team doesn't really have a good Fairy switch in outside of Mega Gengar. Well, maybe they don't need Fairy if they play really aggressively. Their team's not exactly super Fairy weak. And then maybe they're Water, in all honesty. That could be Water. And then Dialga. But good luck, have fun. And yeah, let's see if we can make this work. So my lead here is definitely Arc Water. And I think that my game plan here is honestly just go for Ice Beam. Their Dialga should never actually beat me in theory, And them going to Chansey is perfectly fine too. Oh, they got the freeze. To be fair, at least it's on their natural Curamon. So I'm just going to go right into Necrozma Duskmane. They'll have to switch out, but they're probably just going to go into, if I had to guess, probably Dialga again. So I'm fine either way. If they just let me have this, so be it. They clearly, yeah, I was going to say, they clearly would have had to forget about Natural Cure, though, to make that happen. They're going to definitely go for a Mega here. And honestly, I think that my play is just sacking this. I will say, though, it could be a little scary depending on the Arceus type. But I also don't really have a better switch into this. And Ray is a pretty decent endgame mon here. Same as Arai, actually. So I want to... No, I actually want to save this for Chansey. I think I'm just going to go into Arc Water here. Arc Water is probably fine unless this is a plot set. Which if it's plot, so be it. It's not a huge deal. We'll go for Ice Beam here. And Ice Beam, they don't have great switches to this. And even if they're just going for Sub Encore, they would basically need to go for Disable, actually, for it to have been bad. But we see their mono attack, though if they're mono Ghost, that doesn't really make a huge difference, actually. Plus, I'm not sure why they're actually going for Encore, I'll be honest. Their better play would have been to go for 2 Shadow Balls and take me out. Or Shadow Ball into Encore would have been good. Because by going for Shadow Ball into Encore, they could have actually, in theory, gotten me low enough to where they could have just taken me out outright, and I had nothing to do about it. So it was definitely an interesting set of plays to say the least. But I'm gonna go for a Light Screen here. They're gonna go for a Veltal. It's perfectly fine. I'll go for Taunt on this, just to see if I can stop this from... Well, 1, to see if it goes for Sucker Punch, because if it's going for Sucker Punch, I need to keep that in mind for Arai. And 2, to see if it's going to click Taunt or Defog of its own, which would be great for me if I can stop it from doing so. This looks like more of a balanced semi-stall, so I wanted to be prepared for that. I'll go for Boom here, just get some good damage on this, albeit it doesn't matter a ton. But I can go into Coco, and from here I'll U-turn. They're definitely going back into Chansey. Even if they don't, I'm fine with this. They'll go to Pedon, actually. Still honestly fine with this, because I can go into Arceus, and that's sort of the thing with this team. They don't have a great way, actually, around my comp in general. So I'm just going to go for a Recover at this point, and I'm just going to let them try and get some good damage off, I guess. But they don't even actually do that. I'll go for Refresh. And thankfully, again, they just let me clear the status. What's with these Pedons and going for just the T-Wave on this and then switching out into something that lets me refresh? If they attacked Raw, I can't hit them with a Water move. And if they attacked Raw, they could have actually maybe taken me out. So that ended up really backfiring on them. Oh, right. Shit. Okay, I'm stupid. I'm stupid. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter in all honesty. I can go for a Recover here, and their terrain is now gone. Well, oh, right, our terrain's not gone yet. Okay, this is still honestly fine. I can just go into Coco, and Coco can go for a Defog here. Just to clear the terrain, I'm not ready to commit to a sweep anyway. So I can clear the terrain and then take less damage from Dialga to where I can recover this, which will be good. So I'll do that. I'm going to pivot now into... Duskmane, actually. And then from there, I'm going to go for Stealth Rocks again. Stealth Rocks should still be really good here, in all honesty. I can't really see a situation where that would be bad. And I think this might actually be a choice Dialga, though I don't have a ton of information to back that point up. I'm just kind of thinking that because of the fact they've yet to click a non-electric move, even on my Coco. They're Arc Fairy, by the way, so I'm 100% keeping this mon around now. Still honestly fine. Really, at this point, Ray is almost a sack, but I'm not ready to commit to that either. We'll go for Sunsteel here. Them going for the Will-O-Wisp is kind of okay. It's a little bit annoying, but it's kind of fine. I'm going to go into Coco, actually, and I'm going to go for U-turn on this. Because if I go into Coco, I can actually get up a Nasty Plot on Arai, and then I could start doing some really good damage with Rising Voltage. So I'm going to do that. They're probably going to stay in, and actually, they're going to go for probably a Judgment here. I'll go into Arc Water, because I can Toxic this, and if it's not Refresh of its own, that's fine. Which, if it's not Refresh of its own, that means it's lacking... That means that it's lacking Recover, which is fine. So it's lacking one of the two for sure. They'll go into Chansey here. So be it. I can just go for a Recover. They've let me now get that Recover turn, which is great. And they're probably going to try and Wish up Dialga here. So I'm not too against this, actually. I can just go right into Necrozma. They'll probably go for Teleport on Chansey or just Hard Dialga, I guess. Either one is fine. I'll go for... I think I'm going to go for Knockoff. I do want to kind of clear this item just to see what it is. They're going for Fire Blast. They're probably Scarf Dialga, I feel like. Yep, they're Scarf. Okay. It's really not bad for me, in all honesty. I'll go into Arc Water here because they're probably going to click a Dragon move or T-Bolt. Either way, I can still take this pretty well. And I outpaced Dialga guaranteed, so I'm going to go for Recover this turn, and I'm just going to outstall it a little bit. Albeit, I'll have to get a little lucky on turns, but it's not a huge deal because they're kind of just letting me get free damage off on this, which is good for me. And they need to get a full para. They'll go for Dynamax, actually, which I also don't really mind because their max Lightning, it's going to set Terrain for A-Rai, which will be decent for later on at the very least. What I'll do from here, I'm going to go into Ray, I think, and I'm going to try and just go for a V-Create. I know it won't KO, but that's fine. No, I actually do need this around. I'm going to just go into Duskmane then, and I'm going to burn the turn of Max. Ray getting what you call it there. Well, not Ray. Duskmane getting burned there is not good for me, so be it. We'll go for a Roost here and just let Dialga take me out. I'm not really too against this. And now I can go into Ray, and even with the +1 Fizz Def, I should be fine to take this out. So I'm going to go for a V-Create. Mega Ray V-Create should at least do some decent damage to this. Albeit I know I won't KO, but that's not a huge deal for me. We'll have to drop. Oh, actually it will KO. Okay, sweet. I'm pretty fine with this too because their Arc Fairy is actually very slow. So their whole team underpaces me, which is really, really good. And now at this point, what I can do, I can actually go for a Nasty Plot on the Arceus. If they're not a Sucker Punch of Veltal, I think I actually win here. But I'm going to go for one Nasty Plot because now I guarantee take out the Primal Groudon, and I should be able to take this out with Max Quake. Because I know for a fact to take this out with Max Quake, actually. And now we drop the infamous line, ever see an A-Rai kill a Pedon? Because they started asking me about the Dialga. So, had to be a little cheeky there. We should get some really good damage off, though. They basically have to Soft Boil on this exact turn. If they're going to go for Wish, so be it. I can actually Nasty Plot past this, and I'm not too concerned. Plus, Rising Voltage will still do some really good damage to this anyway. But let's see. So let's look at our damage modifier. We do 182. This should be pretty on par with what we were doing before, actually. I could just go for another Rising Voltage. I take out the whole team. I don't even need to actually try and predict around this. And the fact they sacked a Veltal, that's really their only Mon that can actually stand a chance at taking me out. If they're Protect and Chansey, so be it. I can just go for Rising Voltage, and I get some good damage off. From here, I'm going to go for a Wish, Nasty Plot, actually, because of the fact that I kind of anticipated them to go for Protect, and I need the damage boost now that I have lost the terrain advantage. So we'll still get some decent damage off, albeit it's not as great, and they might be able to stall me out, but just in case, I'm going to click Rising Voltage here. Okay, I kind of had to make that gamble, but I can go for a Rising Voltage here into a Nasty Plot and then take this out, and if they predict with Seismic Toss, good play. But they kind of need to go for a Protect here, which is fine by me, because 2 Voltages should KO now. Ooh, okay, good play on their end, actually. If they made a really good prediction there. Their Protect's gonna go off, and they should beat me now. Good play. I would literally need to crit them this next turn to actually... Well, no, I died a Life Orb anyway. They win. GG, well played by my opponent. Very solid game, actually. They definitely kicked ass there. So we'll try and get one more win and end off on a win. I know it's a little bit close to the time I was saying, but we're just under 25, and I'm gonna need to cut a couple of things anyway, so we'll be fine. We see Blastoise, which is probably Mega. It might be G-Max, but it's probably Mega. We see Ho, Yveltal, Kyurem, Zacian, Crown, and Pedon. Teams, honestly, it's not a great A-Rai matchup, but it could be decent. I just need a Yveltal gone with Sucker, and I need Pedon just to let me get a plot turn, and I should be fine. As far as my lead goes, I think I'm just going to lead off again with Arc Water. It's been a really great lead so far, and there's no way to lead off with Zacian. So I'm going to go for a Toxic on Pedon. It should be some really nice damage overall, again, over time. As we've clearly seen from this exchange, every time it happens, this Arceus just beats Pedon. It's literally meant to beat Pedon. They're Toxic for once, which is fine by me. I can actually just go for a Refresh here. Since they haven't actually put me in a position where I need to predict around Precipice versus Refresh, I'm pretty okay with this. And I think I'm just going to go for another... I'm just going to go for an Ice Beam here. They're going to go into Blastoise. That's fine. Blastoise could be a little tricky here, actually, this turn specifically. So I'm going to go for a Toxic. I do need this Mon poisoned, actually, because if it does go for a Shell Smash on me, that could potentially be bad. And I don't exactly have a great switch in. They're thankfully going for Rapid Spin, though, which is really actually the best thing they could have done there. I don't actually mind them getting a speed advantage and trying to flinch me because it won't actually work long term. And I think they truthfully just lose to Arc. I don't think they beat Arc on this team, I'll be honest. Their team just loses to it. Maybe best case scenario, they get into a position where they can crit me with Wild Charge Zacian, or maybe Scarf Kira and White with Freeze Dry. But otherwise, though, they don't really actually have a good play. Their best play, unironically, is trying to go for that freeze, I'll be honest. Because that would put me out of commission long enough to really actually do some damage. But I'm going to go into Coco, actually. And, ooh, this is kind of fun. I'm going to go into Coco, and I'm going to defog now. I'm going to let them take me out. Because I kind of want to kill the Pedon with Arai. Actually, no, I don't want to commit to this yet. I'm going to go into Arc Water here. If they go for Precipice, so be it. They don't do enough damage, actually, to me. They're going to go for Toxic anyway. They were probably predicting a switch, if I had to guess. Which, again, I don't really mind them predicting the switch. I always go for Refresh on this. And now I just go for a Recover. Because Recover should put me at pretty much full. Their ground immunity is now gone. Their electric immunity is now gone. And most of their team's also just electric weak. So if I bring Arai in on like a Ho-Oh, their team is picking a sack. Because even Kira and White has to still take the Rising Voltage into Disarming Voice, which will be terrible for it. So I'm actually really okay with this. This could not have been better positioning. Again, I know my Arai can, in theory, take out Pedon, but it's not a position I want to have to put it in just because it can do it. Last game I was able to do it, and it kind of won me the game. Well, it kind of almost won me the game, just came down to that last turn. This game, though, I don't really need to make that play. Their team is weak enough to electric in general, so I'm not too concerned. They're going to go for Behemoth Bash here, perfectly fine. I'm going to actually let myself Morning Sun here. They'll go into Blastoise, that's fine. I'll go for... I think I'm just going to go for Stealth Rocks until their Blastoise dies. Because if they're just going to keep Rapid Spinning them away, that's fine. They're taking Helmet plus Toxic, and eventually they won't clear hazards. If they're going to go for Dark Pulse, it's fine. They only get a few turns to do so. And getting the Rock Set plus Arai in general will be huge, especially for Kira and White, discount for that item. They're going to go for a Dark Pulse here. This is fine. I'll go for Morning Sun in this turn, because if they're going to go for Dark Pulse again, that's fine. They're taking damage. And if they're going for Rapid Spin, they actually die next... Oh, no. I actually do go for Stealth Rocks, because at this point I kind of want to lose Duskmane. Okay, perfect. So now they're in range to where they actually can't clear hazards anymore. So if they go for the Rapid Spin, yeah, they take out Duskmane, which is really good for them. But they also die to Helmet, so they don't get rid of Rocks either. So they're going to just lose Blastoise anyway. They've lost their hazard removal now, which most likely really the only mons I'm thinking that are affected are Yveltal and Kira White. It's still really bad for them, just it could be a lot worse. We're going to sack Coco here, because I think Arai actually just wins the game, barring Sucker Punch of Yveltal. And even if it is Sucker Punch of Yveltal, I'm not too concerned. Just to be safe, if they're going to double, actually, I'm going to go for U-turn here, but I anticipate the KO. So this is perfectly fine. We'll go into Arai, and Arai just clicks Rising Voltage a bunch of times. If they go into Kira White, they should still take a ton of damage, but it's not as bad for me. Kira White, I'm kind of curious actually how much this takes. Disarming Voice. So we are a Life Orb set, and with the Dynamax, and Electric Terrain, we do not take this out, but Kira White also might not even take us out. It would need Specs to do so. Just to be safe, actually, I'm going to go into Arceus Water here, and I'm going to go for the Toxic, and I'm going to let them actually KO my Arceus, because I want to make sure that I can get up my screens later on and just take this out. They also are guaranteed slower than us this turn, which is great. Oh, right, never mind. They're faster because I forgot we're not max speed. Still, honestly, not a big deal, because Kira White doesn't actually have a way to boost speed. They're probably, if I had to guess, probably trying to go for Scarf Blizzards, which isn't really too bad for me either, actually. So we'll bring in Mewtwo at this point. If they're Scarfed, that's fine. I can get up a light screen afterwards and they don't KO me with the first hit. If they're Specs, that's fine. My light screen goes up first, and I'm pretty good. They are Scarfed, confirmed Scarf, that's fine. We should guarantee take another hit, and I can actually just go for a Reflect just for Sucker Punch of Yveltal. It's really the big thing. And then now I die to Hail, and I bring in Arai, and Arai should go in at this point. Albeit I probably should have actually went Ray first, but details. We'll actually go for Max Guard here. I want to kill them to Toxic, because then I preserve as much health on this as possible. And then from there, I'm going to go for a Max Lightning, because I'll gain my terrain back because of the Max Lightning. We do see Boots of Yveltal, which is good information. If they're Sucker, so be it. They don't KO. We'll die next turn, which I don't entirely mind. I don't think the crit mattered there, in all honesty. This is still an Arai Still gets decent damage off, but worst case, I think Ray finished off guaranteed here. But yeah, we'll take it. A game off of Arai. Nice. So, great way to end off the video with Arai going down to Life Orb. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe for more content just like this. With that said, shoutouts to our channel members being Josh aka Ultra Player, Mia, and Zeke0. Your guys' support is greatly appreciated. If for anyone else, if you want to become a channel member today, link down below to that, as well as to things such as our Discord and Twitter to stay up to date on any future content. And with that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow, where we'll be going over the best returning Pokemon to Scarlet and Violet in the VGC tier. So with that said, I will see you guys then. Until then, peace out, guys.